Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. No, that's not an error. We only had one privacy article this week because the entire news cycle was dominated by Windows recall, which will be a separate standalone video. So, of course, depending on when you're seeing this, you may or may not have already seen that one. If you're watching this super early after release, it will be released Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern as a premiere on YouTube and also going live same time on Rumble. Other channels will come out shortly thereafter. So today we are doing security, AI, business, and silly news. So that is what is up today. Of course, you can catch the show live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to catch all of the live shenanigans in between the news sections. But let's go ahead and get started here. First up, of course, Louis Rossman covered this one. It was a great article, though. How I upgraded my water heater and discovered how bad smart home security is. Now, I will tell you the details of the article, but I will highly encourage you to go read the article because this is an absolute hoot. This guy, Kevin Purdy, did a wonderful job. It is a very fun and easy read, mostly talking about his scenario and situation that he wasn't really sure this is going to turn into an article, but it ended up just basically turning into a comedy skit involving a weird company that realized, hey, we screwed up and this guy's a journalist. And so we're not getting into that part of the video, that part on this today. We just want to highlight what's going on here. So this is an attachment you can get to a tankless water heater that will allow you to control various elements of your tankless water heater from a smartphone app. And, of course, there is a mode that you can do where you can recycle water. So if you know you're going to be using a lot of water or whatever else, you can hit a recycle button and it's going to turn the thing on and then cycle water through the whole house a little bit. So you get those features there. And this app here, you're supposed to plug it in and then you can control your thing. You could power cycle it. You'd be like, hey, I'm going to come home and I want a hot shower as soon as I'm there and recycle the house and turn the thing on and whatever else. So you can do, the theory is all that kind of stuff. But like every other application, they hire the cheapest third world developer to do the basic bottom line functionality of copy and pasting Stack Overflow until something actually does what you want it to fairly theoretically do. And then you run with it, forgetting about every form of security protocol. The security protocol of this one is there is a hardwired API that is required to use this. It's hardwired in. It cannot be changed. And outside of the API, the only thing the system needs is your email address. So if you happen to know your neighbor has one of these systems, because you see the box for it outside and you happen to know their email address because of that crazy HOA board, you can get onto the system on the app and play with your neighbor's hot water. Crank that bad boy up, turn that heat on, constantly recycle it. All sorts of crazy stuff going on here. So this is a good example of why we don't need to put random gadgets on the internet. Your TV doesn't need to be on the, I don't know, your TV. I'm going to argue your TV doesn't need to be on the internet. Okay. Your toaster definitely doesn't need to be on the internet. Your stove, if you put your stove on the internet, you are asking for a hacker to burn your house down. All right. Just don't do that. Just don't do that. Not a wise thing to do. You don't need your water heater on the internet. And this is a cautionary tale as to what's going on. On to international spies from the Office of Public Affairs of the U.S. Department of Justice. They busted a scheme. Now, this has been a long-time scheme, and I can theorize some other things that were possibly going on, but the scope of the actual charges right now are just dealing with fraud in defrauding U.S. tech firms. So this was a long-played scheme by a North Korean identity theft ring. So they're basically stealing all of these IDs, and then they're using the IDs to get jobs in people's names. And they're all, of course, in North Korea, and they're getting paid by all of these U.S. companies. And, of course, all of this money from U.S. company salaries is filtering itself into North Korea. And this is like Department of Justice kind of frowns upon this. So it is effectively a ring of these guys. They've been collecting data for a number of years, and they finally pulled the plug and taking it to court. So it's now finally public. So you got to think about this, though, and this is what was not in the article. that what I already said is a summary of the article: identity theft ring, getting jobs for people, and basically cashing in on it. And what tasks were they doing at these companies? I don't know. In theory, they should be fired unless they're actually competent, in which case, hey, North Koreans finally learn what a salary is, you know. Of course, all that money went up to the government, most likely. Had to fund their nuclear silos somehow over there. Or Kim Jong-un's diet, you know. Eat more shrimp. So, the only fat man in that country, I'll tell you. But you got to think about this. A whole bunch of people using fake identities involved in identity theft ring in top Fortune 500 companies, 300 all Fortune 500 companies in the United States. How much you want to bet there was some form of theft of company corporate secrets? Definitely corporate espionage. Absolutely. Now, they're not citing any of that in the original case. They're just charging for the fraud of using fake identities to have jobs and funnel money to North Korea. But we're talking about hundreds of people in a coordinated effort who are all criminals using fake IDs and planting themselves in various positions in Fortune 500 companies. Yeah, I bet some data theft was going on. I bet we had a corporate espionage section going on here. That's kind of my thought. Let me know your thoughts about that. Of course, you can read this link from the website. All my articles are on the website, and the link for that is over on in the description of the video. And so let's go ahead and jump on over into AI news next. The first one is a very creepy one. Now, this is a podcast, so you have to listen to most of it. But the idea here is that people are more frequently, as AI is hoisted upon us, I'm not sure anybody really asked for it. It's like, Copilot's here. Would you like us to do stuff? I'd like you to go jump off a bridge. I mean, I hear that the southern side of the Golden Gate seems all right, but the AI is now trying to get in there and do all sorts of assistance. Well, now the AI is doing everything from researching your vacation, planning your vacation, setting your reservations, choosing your online dates. Everything is now AI. In fact, there was a case of AI bots all over these dating websites. In many instances, it's an AI bot talking to an AI bot. So we got all sorts of AI robotics going on in the background, all sorts of nonsense. So with that, though, as people turning things over to AI, and with all these companies collecting all this data about us and feeding it in, the AI might actually produce a very good tuned in vacation, what you might actually want. The problem is you're not planning your vacation. You're effectively like you're showing up and going along for the ride that the AI would like to take you on. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you want the AI to plan your vacations, book your reservations, do all of your online stuff, everything all done by the AI? It's my vacation time. Oh, great, merciful Copilot. Where am I going on vacation? Well, this month you're going to a volcano. What? I don't know. AI is an energy hog. I thought I kicked this story. Maybe I didn't kick the story. Anyway, AI is an energy hog. We'll do it anyway, in case I didn't kick it. So the problem is that everyone's running around screaming about climate change, climate change, climate change. Well, at the same time, you know, the biggest factor of climate change is all of this energy being used. Because, and here's what's funny. They want to get rid of cars. In fact, I saw a report that New York City now, based on New York City's laws, I think they actually want to get rid of gas-powered cars in 2026. They have zero infrastructure for electric cars. Millions and millions of cars over there, and they don't have any infrastructure for electric vehicles. So if you happen to have a house in New York City, you one of 5 of you might be able to have an electric charger. The problem is that an electric car takes as much energy as a house. So first thing they're asking people to do is basically have a second house worth of electricity. And now we want to talk about AI, and AI effectively has almost also, I think, doubled the energy expenditures. And so we're talking about this world that is pushing AI on everybody. Let's see. So there are some levels here. Electricity composition from data centers, AI, and cryptocurrency could reach double 2022 levels by 2026. So take whatever happened 2 years ago, and in 2 more years from now, they will have doubled. On top of now all of the cars, oh, you can't have your gas-powered lawnmowers, your gas-powered small engines, your gas-powered anything. Everything's got to be electric. We do not have the possibility of sustaining an electric grid like this. This is why we need diversity in what we're doing. Even here in this van, if you are unaware, I live in a van. I have 3 ways I can cook food because redundancy is a thing. Yeah, on a super bright, hot, sunny day where we get full sun, I can run an induction oven, which takes a ton of electricity, but I can run it and not have a problem and still have confidence my batteries are going to be filled at the end of the day. But you get a cloudy day in the middle of January and you're out in the desert. Guess what you don't have? Electricity. So I'm pulling up the propane and pull out the propane and pull out the propane oven. I can still cook my dinner on my propane oven. Of course, I also have a solar cooker as well. So those days it might be sunny, but which works really well back in in December-ish or so, when despite having full sun in December, you still don't get a lot of efficiency on solar panels. So, the solar, I'm definitely not using induction then. I might use the propane, but if it's a sunny day, I'm going to use the solar oven because the solar oven is not impacted by the low angle of sun. In fact, the low angle of sun actually increases the efficiency of the solar oven because it has a better angle from which to get itself brightened up. So, we have to take into account redundancies in our system. We have to have backup power. We cannot be like, let's get rid of all of this stuff and go pure electricity, because everything in our society is pushing electricity, and we have a weak grid as it is. We can't double everybody's electricity and then double it all again with AI being crammed down everything. So yeah, AI is going to, of course, I'm going to ignore all what they're talking about with climate change stuff. Just be aware, tons of extra consumption. And since most electricity, at least here in the United States, is still fossil fuels, you're going to be basically burning, I think the actual number should be close to 4 times the amount of fossil fuels to keep things going, because the technology for renewable energy is not moving all that fast. You want good renewable energy, you got to go with like nuclear, and that's kind of frowned upon in some places as well. On to our last AI story, how AI will change your credit card behind the scenes. This is terrifying. Now, some of these are more terrifying than others. MasterCard is going to be using AI primarily to identify fraud. This is neat. I actually had somebody attempted to steal my credit card number and use it for apparently a bunch of graduation materials. So, some crazy woke hacker or something, and they failed. There were no suspicious transactions. My bank stopped everything. And that's actually why I couldn't place that order for, when was that? Was that with that was with the M2 hat, and I tried to use it 2 times that day, failed both times, went to the bank, like, oh yeah, it looks like somebody tried to steal your number. Great. Well, MasterCard's going to be using AI to make better determinations about what could be fraud. Of course, any hallucinations, you could find yourself fighting MasterCard a lot more. But Visa is terrifying. They are actually going to use AI to tailor a better shopping experience. This says it will allow them to share more information about customers' preferences on their shopping history with retailers. Oh, great. So anytime you use your Visa card, they're going to use AI to feed that data back to retailers so that retailers can better target us to grab more of our money. Piss off, Visa. So there you go. And then, of course, American Express, what they said, they're going to do AI to improve efficiency. So one of the early results reported a reduced customer call times by about a minute. All in all, credit card companies gathering data to predict our behavior. Of all of these, I don't know, I'd probably prefer the MasterCard approach to this. Definitely Visa, you need to have some form of explicit opt-in, like full-fledged written. And if you share my data with the store about something I bought at some other store, no, I don't consent to that. So whatever that happens to be worth. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do use affiliates. Today we're highlighting Mint Mobile. So you can jump on over to Mint Mobile. Looks like they're having a sale or something. $15 a month for like everything, it looks like. 5 gigabyte, 15, 20, and unlimited. I actually use the 5 gigabyte plan because I don't use that much data on a phone anyway. And with that, you can basically, what you do and why this is so cheap is you you buy multiple months up front. So it's not like 1 month up front. You buy a minimum of 3 months up front. I buy a whole year up front at a time. It costs me $180, and I don't have a cell phone bill for an entire year. That is all I'm paying, $180. Works on the T-Mobile line, so if you can get T-Mobile in your signal, you can get Mint Mobile. I have been using it very happily for a number of years. My current phone is Graphene OS on a Pixel 5a. My prior phones on it have been a Razer Phone 2 on Lineage and a Nexus 5X also on Lineage. So Mint Mobile is definitely awesome. You can have a look at that and help support the channel at tlm.li/mm. So you can go ahead and do that. And with that, let's move on over into business news next. First up in business news, I want to cover this one from a conservative angle because I had to answer the conservatives' questions and get them to stop saying, hey, this is a no-brainer. What? These guys all must be like bad people with children because they want to stop this thing. Oh, no, there's a very clear reason to stop all this nonsense. But I'm going to go ahead and go through the Not the Bee article here and explain my take on this. So, of course, Meta and Google have a $1 million lobby to fight to kill the New York online child safety bills. There's two of them. So one of these is the SAFE Act. The SAFE Act effectively says that for people under 18, you can't have effectively the doom scroll. I think that was it. The Stop Addictive Feeds Exploitation. So basically no doom scroll for under 18s. And the second one is a Data Protection Act. And I don't remember as much details about that one. So, of course, what their argument here is, of course, these big companies want to do this. They make all the money and they make all those P words happy. And there is a lot more to it than that. Now, of course, I completely disagree with the fight that the lobby's taking as well. But let's go ahead and get into this. You may be wondering why big tech companies drop hundreds of thousands of bucks to overpriced lobbyists to combat basic online safety measures. Well, because, see, the SAFE Act would crack down on addictive recommendation algorithms used by social media apps, requiring them to provide a chronological feeds for users 18 years or younger unless they receive parental consent. This would take the addictive, nonstop stimulation scrolling element out of a newsfeed. The act would also allow parents to impose time limits on social media and use in-app notifications. The Data Protection Act, meanwhile, would block apps from collecting or selling personal location data from users under 18 unless they consent, while kids under 13 would need a parent's consent. Big companies are like, no, we can't stop that because, we need access to all this kind of stuff, free access to your children, blah, 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 blah. Now, let's go ahead and start with this. I agree with the premise. The overarching premise is, okay, gotta get rid of that stupid distracting now. I agree with the general premise that the way they're building these apps is absolutely addictive. So I took a seat next to a kid for a few minutes and watched him spend, about 5 minutes doom scrolling on the phone. And he had to walk through about easily 35, 45 videos just doing this. And like many kids in today's world, will not put the phone down unless instructed several times to do so. And at every spare second, picks the phone back up and does it again. There is a serious problem. Very serious problem. But you see, there's a very solution. Now you got that and you get time restrictions. It's a very simple solution. Kid doom scrolling. The parent comes by and takes the phone from the child and does something with the kid. Establish a home culture where you're not doom scrolling. Establish a home culture when they don't even have access to the stuff. But what is my kid going to do? I don't know, maybe the same thing all of us did before smartphones came out 10 years ago. Which might even include being bored. We survived. Give the kid a Lego set. Give the kid a coloring book. Give the kid some puzzles. Give the kid a book. Give the kid something. But don't let the kid doom scroll every waking second. The kid is not in your immediate attention. That is the solution to the SAFE Act. We do not need a government imposing these rules on the kids. We don't need the government to be the parents. That is what led to this horrible state of the country we are in now. Now, here is, I think, tech firms hit back. Now, this is what the lobbyists say, and I completely disagree with the lobbyists, too. Tech firms hit back, citing fears the legislation would stifle freedom of speech. You know what? Your freedom of speech stops when you're trying to tell my kid something that I don't want my kid to hear right now. Okay? I'm going to stop your freedom of speech. I don't need the government to do that. I'm going to stop your freedom of speech. Number 2, online privacy for teens. I'm sorry, my teen doesn't get private unfettered access to the internet. That leads to problems, okay? Limit internet access for migrants and other undeserved countries. They're migrants. Get them out of the country if they're not here legally. If they are here legally, they are applied to all of the rest of the laws. In underserved communities. I'm sorry, the people in the Bronx do know what computers are. And essentially disable algorithms that help crack down on hate speech. Yeah, we need to disable algorithms, okay? I would be in favor of a global law. No social media company may use an algorithm. Or at least all social media companies must provide a way to turn the algorithm off. Because I don't want you to tell me what you want me to see. I want to subscribe to a feed. I want to chronologically see what people I have subscribed to said. All right, now here's the biggest problem with this bill. You notice that both of these bills, if you're under 18. Well, that requires you to know who's under 18. Well, if you need to know who's under 18, you have to make a distinction between who's over 18 and who's under 18. How do you do that? ID. These laws are the back door to get identification requirements to use social media. That is why these bills are stupid. So, yes, I will side with Facebook and Google to block the SAFE Act because the SAFE Act is not safe for the rest of us. That's a problem. P words need not apply. All right, moving on. This was a curious one, and I kind of agree with the hypothesis down here. So the M4 iPad Pros, there's 2 models, an 8 gig and a 16 gig of RAM. But when teardowns of these done, the RAM actually had 12 gigs of RAM, but the operating system is only using 8. So they have more RAM than they were advertised as. And then the software is limiting the device to the advertised RAM, not the amount of RAM that is actually in the device. So, no, I don't want to sign up for your newsletter. So what's going on here? Well, they have the releases of 2 models, 256 and 512 gigabytes. With a 9-core CPU, 8 gigs of RAM, or a 1 or 2 terabyte storage variant with 16 gigs of RAM. So what they did is they tore these down and looked at them, and were curious when the 8 gig RAM ones actually had 2 6-bit gig chips instead of 2 4 gig chips. Now, what the hypothesis is, some people have said maybe they couldn't source 4 gig chips. They did 6 gig chips and already had everything else set, so just, ran it with that, which is possible. There was, if you remember on the old Nexus 5X phones, this is going back a long time ago, the 16 gigabyte variations of those had a boot loop problem. And the boot loop problem that affected those, what was happening is one of the cores was getting separated from the connectors. Well, you could fix it with a patch that disabled that core, and then your phone was a 3-core phone instead of a 4-core phone. And the phone worked perfectly fine. Actually, I have one of them that I applied the core patch to, and it works perfectly fine even after having a boot loop before. This is very possible to do. You just run a software patch that only allows it to use 8 gigs of RAM instead of 12. But what people are saying is literally, and I buy this hypothesis the best, that the sheeple have been used to seeing things in simple symmetrical numbers, 8 or 16. 125 or 256, 1 or 2. The idea of a 12 or 16 would just cause the sheeple to go, meh, 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 meh. And so because of all of that, I think that that's the hypothesis. And maybe they just couldn't source the 4 gig chips, so they went with the 6 gig chips. They just throttle your device down to 8 gigs of RAM. What? So there you go. Apple's up to more weird nonsense. Can't wait to hear what Liz Rossman has to say about that one. And of course, was it yesterday? I think there was a Bing outage. Early morning, was resolved mostly by the time the internet, the world came back online in the Eastern time zone anyway. So what the article title is Bing outage shows just how little competition Google search really has. Yeah, nothing. Basically, these went down. Very few people noticed it. Now, I think more Windows people noticed it because your default Microsoft Edge uses Bing. If you're using the Bing search engine, that went down. ChatGPT went down, and DuckDuckGo went down. That caused people to go, wait, hold on. A Microsoft outage causes DuckDuckGo to go down. Now, of course, the reason is that DuckDuckGo utilizes a sanitized Bing for its search deployment. So it makes sense. It's not the end of the world. But this is something we've all known if you've been paying attention to this channel for a while. You would have actually known that DuckDuckGo blocked all trackers except Microsoft trackers per their contract. Ooh, did you know that? Of course, now they're blocking them because it was either that or kill their business model in pure hypocrisy instead of most hypocrisy. But what ended up happening is with this outage, Bing went down, DuckDuckGo went down, ChatGPT went down, Copilot went down, and Yahoo, Ecosia also went down. Everything else went fine because Google, which still dominates 80 or so %. I think this is stat counter search engine. So Google is still pushing the 90s, with Bing only rising up simply because some people are just too lazy to change their search engine. And then you have Yandex, Yahoo, Baidu, and then other. Brave is even on that list. Of course, I don't know if Brave is all that popular. Of course, Brave right now sucks. It did really good, and then they started cramming AI, and then Brave became worse than anything. So that's interesting. There is no competition outside of Google. Bing shut down, and most of the world didn't even notice, except the people that didn't change their defaults on Windows. Fascinating. And on to our silly news for the day. First up, 2 students uncovered a flaw that allows you to use laundry machines for free. Of course, internet-connected laundry machines. Fascinating. I use these types of laundromats. Now, I don't use the ones that... there's more laundromats that are now using cards instead. So you have to go in, spend money on a card, and they're like, you can refill the card. Yeah, I'm only going to use this laundromat to do laundry like one time ever. What about all the rest of that card balance? Well, I guess they get the card balance then, don't they? It's a scam. They should go back to quarters and such and things like that, or, have the option for whatever else. But the challenge is that as they're moving technologies, you can get these devices that are now on the internet. You might be able to have an app that any laundromat using this particular app, you can reload. There's ways around it. Well, just like everything else internet connected, it's vulnerable to bugs. And so a couple of students figured out the security flaw that allowed people to access over 1 million internet connected laundry machines to do laundry for free. So there you have it. The geeks are always there. Of course, the people when I lived in Toft Trees here in State College, the people across the hall from me were engineers, and we still had a coin-operated laundry down in the basement. Well, being engineers and college students, they figured out how to get their laundry for free with a little device they made. They figured that out. Now in the internet age, this college students are still up to it. It was just broke college students with too much time in their programming courses going, hey, let's see if we can get anything. Oh, look at that. Sweet. So there you have it, guys. Free laundry for all, I guess. And electric cars are more likely to hit pedestrians than petrol vehicles, study finds. Now, this is interesting on a couple different fronts. Obviously, the first funny one is, the electric car doesn't have any role in this. It has to do with the driver or other circumstances. Now, they do have a statement in here saying that, part of it is because you can't hear the electric cars as much, so more people might get hit by them because they don't know it's there. They also say that typically electric cars have more statistically younger drivers with less experience. So that's the case. But there you have it, guys. Electric cars hit more pedestrians than gas cars. So we need to ban the electric cars, because how many times did you guys hear this? If it saves one person, put on that face diaper. Hey, it saves one person. Let's ban the electric car. Okay. Okay with that. All right. Of course, I'm not all for necessarily banning the electric car. I just don't want it forced on me. I don't want one. Deal with it. So they did comment here. Basically, obviously the headline itself is statistically irrelevant. The electric car is not doing the driving, so it's not like it's not like the car itself has as much to do with it. I think there's a couple factors. The other one they didn't mention is the acceleration power of the electric cars is much higher. So you can get started much faster. Therefore, you might get started super fast and not be able to brake in anticipation that somebody, used a crosswalk in front of you and they started walking at the same time you hit the pedal. While in the gas car, you can take your foot off the pedal and slam on the brakes way faster than the electric car, where you hit the pedal and you're already going, like approaching full speed. And so I think that's some of the things you need to do. Stop making these electric cars so fast. Or so accelerative, I guess, making up words. But you need to slow it down a little bit so they don't have so much acceleration. So there's actually reaction time if you start to move and you have to stop immediately. I think that's another factor they didn't mention in the article. But there you have it. Not to mention, of course, that too many people in the electric cars are relying on electric technologies and, going to sleep in the back seat. Whatever. But that is our silly news for the day. If you'd like to help support the channel, we do have a locals page, switchedtolinux.locals.com. You can jump on over there and support the show. With that, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all next time.